Hi, and thanks for joining me. Well, as you can see, I'm at the NEC in Birmingham for Motorcycle Live 23. Yeah, I know there's probably 1,000 videos out there already and more appearing each day it's on. So I did think, should I really be doing another? Well, the ones I've watched so far seem to concentrate on what new bikes are being launched, whereas I wanted to bring a bit of the background goings on as well. I will be showing bikes, new and old, that appeal to me, so there may be some repetition of what's already been posted, but I'll try and keep that to a minimum. Anyway, here's my offering. Hope you find at least some of it interesting, and it's in no particular order. I went midweek on the Wednesday to miss the big crowds, and it paid off as I could get to see everything pretty well. Obviously it's a major showcase for the bike manufacturers, and it's often the public's first opportunity to look at new models and hopefully get to try them for size. But there's also a lot more to this show. For those who've never actually been on a bike before, MCN had a great introduction with their Try-Ride area. Here you get a free session with a trained instructor. It's aimed at those who've never ridden before, or if you're returning to biking after a long break and you simply want a refresher. I think this was a great idea, and there were quite a few taking up the offer. I don't know what your opinion on electric vehicles is, but right next to the Try-Ride area was an electric test ride zone. They had a selection of electric motorbikes from a number of the manufacturers for you to have a go on. Throughout the day there was a steady flow of folk wanting to find out what all the fuss was about. Love them or hate them, electric power was very much on show this year, as we'll see as we go round. The BMW Stand was huge. It was probably the biggest there, and not doing things by halves, they built a little off-road arena in the middle. This was obviously to show off their new Motorrad models, and they'd got a couple of bikes demonstrating their abilities at intervals throughout the day. The two guys riding were from an off-road school in Wales. They could certainly handle these big heavy machines.
Tried to do with this new one is kind of broaden the appeal, make it a little bit better for people, easier for people to ride, smaller, less intimidating, and then at the other end increase the kind of dynamic side of the bike, the sports end of the spectrum, making capable of a bit more fun and games, a bit more dynamic riding. You're riding the other days riding down there on these brand new 1300 models. So can I have a massive round of applause? Welcome to the stage our two riders, Neil Walker and of course Ben Hart.
Try and showcase what these bikes can do with 2 pounds of dirt, and Chris telling us all about them. Now the hype on these bikes has been huge. We've been there.
The Royal Enfield stand was, not surprisingly, pretty busy. As well as the new releases, they also had their electric test bike, the HIM-E, on show. It's not so much a concept bike or anything fanciful, but it's a working test bed for what some see as the future of motoring, and Royal Enfield are clearly looking at that. I liked that they'd kept it just as it came in after its last run, all covered in mud and crab. The new Himalayan 450 was creating a lot of interest, and there was a queue of folk all day waiting to have a sit on it. I did manage to get on it, and I have to say I do like it now that I've seen it in the flesh. But to be honest, at the moment I've no intention to swap Harold my 411 for one of these. Some interesting new colour schemes on some models, and these meteors are quite eye-catching. The star of the stand in my eyes though was actually this beautiful scale model of a classic 500. It sat in the middle in this glass case, but everybody seemed to be just ignoring it. What a shame. Just opposite on the Moto Junkies stand, we've got these customised Enfields, just for something a bit different. Now, no show's complete without a race simulator. We've got this Isle of Man TT one here, though there didn't seem to be many takers when I was there. This very nice customised Honda 500 with its lovely remembrance themed paint job was on the machine shop stand. They offer courses to learn welding and general maintenance. The National Motorcycle Museum had a great display from their collection, including the famous Brough Superior Dream with its 998cc double opposed 4-cylinder engine. They brought quite a few bikes. That's a BSA Rocket Goldstar from 1963. Next to it is a Healy Square 4 from 1975. Altogether a pretty varied display, and sitting in amongst the exotica was this lovely BSA M20 in its 1940s military trim. They were also doing a live restoration of a 1934 Royal Enfield 250 Silver Bullet. I'd be interested to find out just how much they achieved by the end of the show. Now, I'm not personally into electric bikes, they just do nothing for me, but I thought this offering from Naving was a bit different. It's got that vintagey sort of flat tanker look, or maybe even a bit bobberish. Anyway, got my picture taken on it, but that's as close as I intend getting to this type of propulsion. Sealy Tools had a good stand, and they were using these classic bikes to show off the bike lifts. Interestingly, two of them had cutaway sections. BSA didn't have any new bikes, but have introduced a new colour option for the Goldstar in the form of this shadow black version. I'm not a big fan of chrome, so this did have an appeal, but to be honest, I prefer my own Highland green version to this. But then colours are always a very personal thing anyway. I am a fan of CCM bikes, and if you follow my channel you know I got a Spitfire bobber earlier this year, so it was nice to see them with a good display. Just a few minor changes for this year, the most obvious being a new TFT instrument pod, and the move away from the fire and kill buttons on the console to a conventional right hand switch cluster with a kill and starter button. This is the RAF 100 Special Edition, complete with luggage. Their bikes are all individually hand built, and you can personalise yours from a bewildering array of options. On stage there was stuff going on all day, from interviews to quizzes, and even this wheel change challenge against the clock. Ex-racer and now presenter Steve Parrish was hosting this one. This young chap struggled a bit, but then he'd never touched a bike before, so fair play to the bloke. And I just wish I could change a wheel on mine in 1 minute 25 seconds. The Triumph stand was packed, as you'd expect, and they had some interesting new colour schemes, including these sort of gradient colours. And of course there was a lot of interest in the two new ones, the Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400. Lots of the stands were running competitions, and Honda had a challenge to win tickets for a rugby international match. Fancy a nice combination? Watsonian sidecars are going stronger than ever. Here's a nice BSA 650 Goldstar setup, complete with a wicker picnic basket. Or how about this colour coordinated Royal Enfield Interceptor? A large section of one of the halls had been turned into an off-road course, and if you fancied a go, there were bikes from a number of the manufacturers available to try your hand under supervision of an instructor. There were also demonstrations by experienced riders just to show you how it should be done. I've always liked Ural Combinations. I bought one new about 15 years ago, back when F2 motorcycles were the importer. It was my daily transport for 5 years, and I was doing about 250 miles a week on it in all weathers. Absolutely brilliant bike. They've changed a bit since I sold mine, but the overall look is still very similar. They're very, let's say, agricultural. No fancy body panels hiding stuff. What you see is what you get. I love this, but obviously not to everybody's taste. Back then you couldn't buy a two-wheel drive one new for the UK because the drive was only on the right hand side. The latest ones though come with two-wheel drive as standard. Norton are celebrating 125 years this year, and their display leaned heavily on the heritage. Old and new side by side, and some special edition bikes.
No. That's going into the...
The new V4 machines had pride of place. The V4 SV here is claimed to be the most luxurious British superbike ever created. Osset not only had a stand showing off their electric trials bikes, but also a display team showing how they can be ridden. This was another one where they had an area you could have a go yourself and try out one of their bikes. Don't think you'd be doing that though.
Right.
up on the platform is Oliver Smith. Next up we've got Elliot Smith. Finally Sophie Bailey, who's another shot. And then when we get it, you can do it as well if you want to, although you're all grown up really. No way. I like that, he's not missing anybody out. Making sure he gets everybody. Oliver, stop messing with those girls in the crowd.
Surprisingly, Harley Davidson weren't at the show, but there was a big Indian presence. Now, Indian have gone through a few changes of ownership and had some false starts over the years, but they do seem to have got their act together now. Crazy Horse had a good showing of custom bikes. Whether you like them or not, you've got to admire the work that goes into a paint job like this. Most of the manufacturers seem to be concentrating on your adventure stroke trail stroke scrambler type bikes at the moment, and there seem to be more of this type on show than any other. Fantic, for instance, they've got a growing range and the engine capacities are increasing too. These are at the 500cc. Fancy yourself as a racer? Well, Kawasaki had this row of simulators to show your skill on, without fear of killing yourself. Finally, there's always a good selection of trade stands to browse, selling everything you need, all with their show special offers. Well, after 4 hours of walking round the show, I'm knackered, so I'm going to head off to find a bus to take me back to the car park. I'll leave you with a few photos of some of the bikes that took my fancy. This is a big show. There's so much that I haven't fitted in, but I hope it's given you a taster. So either get down there yourself, or if you can't, watch some of the other videos on YouTube. There are plenty. Thanks very much for watching. Please leave a like if you did. And if you feel like leaving a comment, I always try and answer them. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my ramblings. Hope to catch you on the next one, so cheers for now.